Cindy came back from work just to find her two little children crying. When she asked what the problem was, they replied that they were hungry. Cindy calmed them down and promised to arrange some food for them to eat. She went inside their living room and found her husband lying on the bed, crying. When she asked what the problem was, he replied, "The vacancy I applied for at Avalon Solutions has been given to someone else." Cindy comforted him. She told him that there would be more opportunities and advised him to try other companies, telling him that work is never easy to get but assured him that one day God would smile on him. She asked him not to kill himself or drown himself in tears because he didn't have a job. Edmond cried more. He took his wife's hand, kissed it, and thanked her for being not just a wife, but a mother, a friend, and a comforter. He thanked her for being an understanding woman, for not being like all those ladies who insult their husbands because they don't have money, a job, or do not bring anything to the table. Cindy replied, "I love you, and you know that, right? Don't worry, God will definitely smile on you. He will give you work." Edmond smiled at her, the only woman that gave him joy. The story of Edmond and Cindy began some years back. They went to school together, fell in love, and got married. They were both orphans who found comfort in each other's hands. They got married, and ever since then, they had been together, loving one another. Cindy became the breadwinner of their family because, after their graduation, Edmond had not been able to find a job. He had been searching, but it seemed as though all doors were closed for him. It wasn't like that for Cindy. She got a job as a secretary in a big company, and ever since then, the family had been fed by her salary. Cindy did not care if her husband had money or not. The only thing she wanted in this relationship was love and trust, and their relationship was built on that. One morning, Edmond told Cindy about a place he wanted to go and apply for work. After they discussed it, Cindy wished him good luck, and he left the house. But on the way, something terrible happened to him. He got into an accident and was rushed to the hospital. When the news got to Cindy, it was as if her whole world had crumbled in that moment. She rushed to the hospital where Edmond was admitted. When she got there, the doctors told her that her husband was severely injured and needed to be operated on as soon as possible. The doctor told Cindy that the operation was going to cost 3.8 million naira. "Doctor, please tell me you're joking," she replied. 3.8 million naira, just tell me that is not what you mean. But the doctor repeated, "Madam, the operation is going to cost 3.8 million naira. Please go to the reception and deposit half of the money so we can get started with the treatment. Please be fast about it, he doesn't have much time." Cindy fell to the floor crying. She did not have such money. Her salary was just 200,000 naira monthly. Not just that, this was the money they used to feed, handle their expenses, and sometimes the money even finished before she received her next payment. She wondered how she was going to raise such a huge amount of money for the surgery and what would happen to her husband if she failed to arrange the money. She immediately rushed home. She gathered the little property they had, freezer, laundry machine, TV, and others, and sold everything. The whole thing came out to 200,000 naira. When she added it to the little money she had in her account, she got a total of 500,000 naira. She rushed back to the hospital. but the doctors and nurses refused. They said the money was too small and that it had to be half of the 3.8 million naira, or they would not attend to her husband. Cindy pleaded. She begged them to attend to her husband, but no one listened to her plea. She left the hospital and returned home again. This time, she went to her neighbors and begged for assistance. She pleaded with them to help her with some money and promised to pay them back. But each of her neighbors responded by saying they had their own problems and could not help her. With no other hope left, she rushed to the company where she worked. She went into her boss' office, fell on her knees, and began to beg. She told the man everything that was happening to her and pleaded with him to lend her 3.8 million naira for her husband's surgery, saying she did not mind working all her life to repay the money. The boss smiled and replied, "Why do you think I'm going to give you 3.8 million naira? Is it not you I have been begging to scratch my back ever since you started working in this company, but you refused? Now you want me to give you 3.8 million naira? Cindy cried and begged again, saying she could not bring herself to cheat on her husband and that was why she rejected him. She bowed her head until it touched his feet, promising to work hard and repay the money. But the boss stood his ground, saying that Cindy had to scratch his back first, and after scratching his back, he would give her the money, and that she would not need to repay it. Cindy stood up angrily, slapped him, and called him a selfish man. She cried and said, "My husband is dying. He is lying on a hospital bed fighting for his life. And here you are asking me to scratch your back, to sleep with you. Disgusting. I will never do that." Her boss became furious, and in that moment, he fired Cindy. Cindy left and returned home. She sat down crying, not knowing how to raise the 3.8 million naira. Her two children also sat beside her. She asked her elder daughter to take care of her younger sister and told them not to go anywhere. After saying that, she stood up and went back to the company. She went to her boss' office and accepted to sleep with him. "If I sleep with you, promise me that you will offer my husband a job in one of your companies." Cindy said. The man accepted. He took her to a hotel, and Cindy scratched his back. After that, her boss credited her with 3.8 million naira and also promised to keep his word. He said when her husband got better, he would offer him a job. He also asked Cindy to resume work, but Cindy replied that it was good he fired her because she did not want to see his face after what had happened. She left and went straight to the hospital. She made the payment, and the doctors worked fast and admitted her husband for treatment. After a few days, the doctors pronounced Edmond healed. They said he was fine and discharged him. Cindy was happy that her husband was okay, but she was also sad because of the big sacrifice she made to get the money. That day at home, Edmond pressed Cindy for answers about how she was able to come up with 3.8 million naira within a few hours. Cindy looked at him, wondering if she should tell her beloved husband the truth. She did not want to keep such a big secret to herself. She knew that if the truth came out, her husband would be very furious, but she prayed that he would understand the reason she did it. Still, she wondered, what if he did not understand? What if the truth ended up being the reason her family fell apart? She then made the decision to keep the truth to herself. She replied to her husband and said, "It is God. I was not able to raise such a huge amount of money. I even sold our valuable properties, but the money I got from them was not enough to cover even half of it. But it was a miracle. I met someone who paid for your surgery without thinking twice. It is God's doing. God will bless that person, Edmond added. That same evening, there was a knock at their door. Edmond opened it, and the person brought a message that Edmond had been hired as a manager at Avalon Solutions Group. Edmond was shocked. He had not applied for any job in that company, so how could he have been hired? He told the person that maybe he was in the wrong place because he had not applied for any job in that company. Then Cindy came out, accepted the job offer, and the delivery person left. "This is a miracle," Cindy said. "God has finally remembered us. You now have a job, even though I've lost mine. At least hunger is not going to kill us." "Wait, you lost your job?" Edmond asked. "Yes, I lost my job. When I got the news that you got into an accident, I left the office without taking permission from my boss or even the manager. That is why I was fired." Edmond felt bad for her, but he promised to take care of her, especially now that he had a job with a monthly payment of 900,000 naira. Cindy, on the other hand, was not fully happy because she knew where all of this came from, the 3.8 million naira for the surgery and the job. She knew how everything happened. She prayed that the truth would not come out, and if it ever did, she hoped that he will understand. The next morning, Edmond began working, this time not as a struggling man, but as a manager in a company. The salary was more than he had ever earned in his life. Money flowed steadily, and for the first time in years, the weight on his shoulders lifted. Cindy became a housewife. At first, everything felt like a miracle. She stayed home to care for the children while Edmond worked tirelessly. Slowly, he began to save money. Months passed, and soon they moved out of their cramped apartment into a bigger, more comfortable home. Prosperity smiled on them. Edmond grew even wealthier, and with wealth came a softer side of him Cindy had never known. He became more caring, more attentive, and more romantic. Each evening after work, he would sit beside her, gently massaging her feet, asking about her day, laughing with the children, and making her feel cherished. Cindy often watched him in quiet wonder. She had never known her husband could be this romantic. Sometimes, she thought to herself that she should love this side of him more, hold on to it tightly, and never let it slip away. But fate was already turning its back on them. One day, everything changed. Unbeknownst to Cindy, one of their former neighbors from the old compound had seen her that terrible day, the day desperation drove her into her boss' arms. The woman had seen Cindy and the man enter a hotel together. The sight never left her mind. When she finally crossed paths with Edmond, she wasted no time. She told him everything she had seen. That evening, Edmond returned home burning with rage. The moment he stepped inside, his eyes locked onto Cindy. Cindy looked confused. She had never seen her husband this furious, so she simply asked, "What is it, Edmond? Why is your face like this? What is the problem?" But his silence was louder than thunder. "What were you doing in a hotel room with your boss?" he asked sharply. Cindy froze. At first, she lied. She said they went there for work. She said she was a secretary, that her boss had called for an important meeting, and that it was strictly business. But Edmond did not believe that. He stepped closer, his voice rising, his words cold and cruel, spoken in a way he had never used on her before, like they were enemies who had hated each other for years. "Stop lying to me," he shouted. "Do you think I'm a fool?" Cindy's knees weakened, her lips trembled. There was no escape. He kept pressing her, his questions like knives. His tone grew harsher, more ruthless. And finally, Cindy admitted it, with tears streaming down her face. She told him everything. She told him how frustrated she had been that day, how helpless she felt watching him suffer. She told him how she begged neighbors for help and how no one agreed. She told him how she sold their property, and how the money was still not enough. She told him how she went to the company, desperate, with no plan and no strength left. And then she told him about how they ended up in a hotel room together, how she did it only to save his life. She knelt before him, sobbing, begging him to forgive her, telling him how much she loved him and how she could not stand by and watch him die. But Edmond's face twisted with rage. He shouted, he insulted her. He called her names that pierced her soul. "So how long has this been going on?" He yielded. "How long have you been sleeping with him? How long have you been cheating on me?" Cindy shook her head violently, tears spilling uncontrollably. "Ever since we got married, it has never happened," she cried. "It was only once, with my boss. I swear, I did it to save you. Please forgive me." "Shut up," Edmond roared. "I can't believe you could do this to me. After all these years of loving you, you chose another man. After everything we have been through, you found comfort in another man's arms and now you are using my accident as an excuse." His voice cracked with fury. "I wonder how many men you've slept with," he spat. "I hate you, and trust me, I will make sure you regret this." Cindy cried harder, swearing again and again that it happened only once, that she had never cheated before, that it was only her boss, only that day. But her tears, her words, and her pain, they all fell on deaf ears. From that day on, Edmond changed completely. The good and caring husband disappeared. The loving father their children once knew was gone. He began keeping late nights. He stopped eating Cindy's food. The club became his second home, and with it came bad friends and negative influences. The warmth that once filled their home slowly faded, replaced by tension and hatred. Cindy, who had once been full of life and happiness, became a sad young woman. Deep down, she knew she had made a mistake. Her intentions had been good. She only wanted to save her husband's life. But the way she got the money was wrong in the eyes of people, and she was paying the price every single day. One night, Edmond did not come home. Cindy waited. Hours passed. She called his phone again and again. Each time, it rang, but no one picked up. Her heart raced. "I hope he is not in any kind of trouble," she murmured to herself, fear tightening her chest. But Edmond was not in trouble. He was in a hotel. He was there with another woman, laughing, drinking, enjoying himself. They played around on the bed, lost in pleasure. His phone kept lighting up with Cindy's name, but he ignored it, too busy having fun to care. That night, he did not go home. The next night passed the same way. When Edmond finally came back 2 days later, Cindy rushed toward him, her face filled with worry, exhaustion, and pain. "Where have you been?" she asked. He looked at her with cold eyes. You have no right to ask me that question, he replied harshly. You lost that right the day you started sleeping with other men. The words cut her deeply. An argument followed. You can't keep treating me like this, Edmond, Cindy cried. I am your wife, and I love you. That is why I made such a big sacrifice for you. Her voice broke as years of pain poured out, and now, she added through tears, I'm beginning to think I should have just let you die there. Maybe that would have been the right thing to do. Silence filled the room. Then Edmond spoke again, his voice cold and final. I want a divorce. Cindy felt as if the ground beneath her feet had disappeared. Disappointment washed over her like a heavy wave. This was the man she had sacrificed her dignity for, the man she had saved at the cost of her own soul. Her heart shattered, but after the pain came clarity. She realized she could no longer stay in a house filled with insults, disrespect, and hatred. She could not keep breaking herself just to hold a marriage that no longer existed. Slowly, she lifted her head. If this is what you want, and if divorcing me will make you happy, then I accept. Her voice trembled, but her decision was firm. I accept the divorce. That night, they slept like strangers under the same roof. The next day, everything was done. They got divorced. Just like that, a marriage built on love, sacrifice, and pain came to an end. Cindy walked away with her children and a heart full of scars. The next morning, Edmond went to work as usual, but the moment he stepped into the office, something felt wrong. People avoided his eyes. Whispers followed him down the corridor. When he reached his desk, he was told to wait. Minutes later, the news came like a heavy blow. He had been fired. Confused and angry, Edmond demanded answers. He was told that the decision came directly from the owner of the company, a man Edmond had never seen before. In all his time working there, he had never once met the owner. Furious and humiliated, Edmond contacted the company owner immediately. Instead of explaining, the man simply sent him an address and said they would talk there. That same day, Edmond located the address. It was a luxurious private place, quiet, guarded, and clearly owned by someone very powerful. His heart pounded as he stepped inside, and then he saw someone he was not expecting to see there. Seated calmly on an expensive chair, relaxed and surrounded by bodyguards, was the same man who had slept with his wife. Cindy's boss. The realization hit Edmond like lightning. How could this be the same man? How could he be the owner of the very company I worked for? Blinded by rage, Edmond stormed toward him, his fists clenched. His eyes burned with anger. Why, he shouted, why did you choose my wife? You have money, you can get as many women as you want. What did I ever do to deserve that from you? I did not invite you here to answer your questions, the man said calmly. I invited you here to give you a word of advice. Edmond froze. Your wife has worked for me for 7 years, the man continued. In all those years, I begged her again and again to give in to me. Each time, she refused. She always said the same thing, I love my husband. I will never cheat on him. Edmond's chest tightened. I wanted her badly, the man admitted, not just because she is beautiful, but because she is hardworking, loyal, and devoted. Any reasonable man would want a woman like her. I was jealous of how deeply she loved you. I tried many times. She rejected me every time. Then he paused. When she came to me with news of your accident, I saw an opportunity. I knew how desperate she was. I knew how helpless she felt. I even fired her because of how much she was resisting me. Edmond's knees weakened. When she finally gave in, the man continued, she placed a condition. After giving her the 3.8 million naira, I must also give you a suitable job in one of my companies. I promised her, and I kept my promise. That is how you got your job. The room fell silent. I know I was wrong for coming between you and your wife, the man said. But listen carefully. Any man who meets your wife will fall in love with her. She is rare. She didn't cheat on you for pleasure, he added firmly. She saved you. She allowed me to touch her because it was a matter of life and death. Where did you expect her to get 3.8 million naira from? You are lucky to have a woman like Cindy. Edmond's eyes filled with tears. I expected you to cherish her even more after learning the sacrifice she made, the man continued. But instead, you divorced her. He stood up slowly. One more thing, he said, go and get your wife back. You will never find another woman who will love you the way Cindy does. If you want your job back, reconcile with her, fix your family. I promise I will never come between you again, and the Cindy I know, he added quietly, will never cheat on you, unless it is a matter of life and death. With that, the man turned away and walked off, his bodyguards following closely behind him. Edmond stood there alone, broken, ashamed. For the first time, he understood the depth of the love he had thrown away. Edmond got home that evening broken. The house felt empty, colder than ever before. The silence screamed at him. The moment he shut the door behind him, his strength failed him. He sank onto the floor and cried like a child. Memories rushed in. He remembered the early days of their marriage, how Cindy had always stood by him, no matter how hard life became.
He remembered the times he returned home tired and hopeless after moving from one company to another, searching endlessly for work and finding none.
Cindy had always been there. She never asked him what he brought to the table. She never complained. She never mocked him. She comforted him, encouraged him, believed in him. Without her, he knew, he would have been dead a long time ago. He remembered how Cindy fed him for more than 8 years with her own salary. How she carried the weight of the home without ever making him feel small. She was not just a wife, she was a mother in a wife's form, warm, patient, and endlessly giving. The realization crushed him. He cried harder, remembering how badly he had treated her. How cruel he had become, how he had punished her for the very sacrifice that saved his life. I was so wrong, he whispered through tears. That night, Edmond made up his mind. He would fix the marriage he had broken with his own hands. The next day, he went to look for Cindy. He found her at her aunt's house. The moment she saw him, she turned away, her face guarded, her heart clearly wounded.
Edmond knelt before her, tears filling his eyes once again.
I'm sorry, he said softly. I failed you. I wasn't a supportive husband. I was a man who lacked understanding. You gave me life, and I repaid you with pain. He begged her to forgive him, not once, not twice, but again and again. He spoke from his heart. Cindy remained silent for a long time. After much pleading, after tears and painful conversations, her heart finally softened. She looked at him and saw the man she once loved, the man she had sacrificed everything for. She forgave him. They got back together. Edmond returned to work, this time with gratitude and humility. Cindy stood by him once more, not as a woman forced by duty, but as a woman who chose love again. Together with their 2 children, they rebuilt their home. This time, there was peace. This time, there was understanding. This time, there was respect. And Edmond never forgot the lesson life taught him, that a woman like Cindy comes once in a lifetime. And when you find such love, you protect it with everything you have.